Alright, hey again everybody. So now we come to the part of my newest update video where I'm going to be discussing my thoughts on the perfect grade strike freedom. And let me just start right off the bat and say that I hate this. I really could not be more disappointed in Bandai for their decision to make the strike freedom a perfect grade. And here's reason number one. Think about how many other Gundam designs have been waiting for the perfect grade treatment so much longer than that. Designs that are much more iconic, more deserving, you might say. Here are a few examples that come right off the top of my head. New Gundam, God Gundam, Shining Gundam, Victory Gundam, V2 Gundam, Double Zeta Gundam, Turn A Gundam. I don't know, it has its fans, I guess. I know there's others, but now the one that really comes to mind is Ground Type Gundam from 8th MS Team, or the EZ8, which could easily turn into some kind of spin-off perfect grade. And think about it. If you've seen 8th MS Team, and you remember various scenes from the show where you get to see the intimate details of the mobile suits, and all the gears, all the pistons, all the hydraulics, all the mechanical detail that they went to careful lengths to animate and show to make the series seem as real as possible. Some examples. You remember perhaps when they were in the desert, and they were like getting sand in the gears and stuff of the mobile suit's feet, so they'd have to periodically come and sweep sand out of the gears that were moving under like a little cover on the foot. And another example, when Shiro first gets to Earth and he's inspecting his ground type Gundam for the first time, and there's this one machine gun sitting off to the side, and he's like sort of running his finger down the barrel, and you notice there's these little spiral indents for trajectory, I suppose. I mean, things like that. And like another example, when Shiro was stranded in the Arctic or the mountain or wherever it was, where it was all ice, and he had to melt ice with a beam saber. And he went onto the mobile suit's arm while it was holding a beam saber, and he adjusted something so that the beam saber's power would go down. I mean, think about all the kind of stuff they showed in there, and imagine what they could do with a perfect grade. All the opening hatches, all the gizmos, the gadgets, the detail. It would be amazing how much they could do with that kind of a mobile suit design. Plus, it probably wouldn't be that hard to make. It wouldn't have kind of the problems with weight and proportions like Double O Riser, where it has to hold these enormous binders on the side and still, you know, have all these locking joints on the arms and legs and still have problems holding things even then. I mean, this wouldn't really have to use all that, I imagine. It would be more simplistic, more like the very original perfect grade Gundam. And the potential for something like that would be enormous. But no. Bandai wants strike freedom. And I just don't see why. I know why. That it's popular. But that's what I don't understand. Why is this thing so popular? Is it really as simple as people being impressed by the fact that it can shoot 20 beams at once and has a gold inner frame, and you know, it just has that little cool vibe? Is that really how shallow it all is? You know, I kind of seem to think so. And here is kind of my whole stance on the matter out in broad daylight. I remember watching Gundam Seed. I liked it. You know, I liked Kira and the series. It was good. It was done well for my taste, and then I wanted to watch Gundam Seed Destiny when I finally got the chance to, and the first episode of Seed Destiny blew me away. It had as much emotion and well orchestrated story, or however you exactly want to put it, that, you know, showing Shin's family all cut down like that in one instant, and poor Shin there having to take it all in and all that, right at that moment, before even the credits roll, it's like, for me, that's huge. That's how you solidify a main character in your mind. That's how you make someone empathize with them. And they did that. They did that well. And that partially makes me a fan of Shin myself. So I went on from that kind of perspective. Many of the episodes in the beginning were quite good. And even up to the point where Kira came back initially. And I thought, you know, it's kind of cool. Now we've got two protagonists, and they're on opposing sides. So it's kind of like you don't know exactly which one you want to root for. But then it starts turning kind of stupid. And eventually, of course, Kira kills Stella, which is a huge deal for Shin. It's like reliving the whole death of his family, especially his sister, again. And so he has to deal with that. And he wants revenge on Kira. And, you know, I have a feeling that if the show would have actually done the unthinkable and actually let Shin really kill Kira, not that I, at that point in the show, absolutely wanted nothing more to do with Kira, but think about how different that would have made the whole show. And the balls it would have taken to do that kind of a thing. It would have been so much more respectable and impressive to actually kill off the main character from the original. That would have given you severe kind of support issues on who you really felt was right. It would have made it an actual tragedy that the person he cared about in the original show is now dead because of the things he tried to do, and now Shin did it understandably so because he was so angry being screwed with his whole life, and now Stella's dead because of this guy, and Kira loses, and now you're stuck with Shin, and you're kind of like in a love-hate relationship. Kind of like in Death Note with Light, the main character from that. He can be the most evil son of a you've ever seen in your life, and yet you love him at sometimes. You just can't help but stay with him. You are hooked. And you know, if they could have done that kind of stuff with Shin throughout the show, made him a lovable, hateable character, and kept that up, it would have been so much more interesting. But instead, of course, they have to go and spare Kira, and they have to go and make it so that he didn't even have a scratch on him. After he was in a mobile suit with a nuclear reactor that blew up 10 feet away from where he was sitting, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And you don't get away with that kind of crap in the Universal Century. Remember, if you will, 0083, and when Lieutenant Burning, in his GM Custom, got this one bullet lodged right in the side of his mobile suit, and he thought he was fine, out the clear, good. And one little pipe kept going, and not rubbing right, and something was getting staticky, and then boom! Little pop right off the side of the mobile suit, and he's dead. Just like that. That's realism. Not this crap where a guy, just because he has plot significance, sits on top of a nuclear reactor that blows up. He's right there, and he somehow miraculously decides he's going to be able to get underwater to where the main ship is without a scratch on him. How can the directors be so stupid to do this kind of crap and then expect us to go with it? It's ridiculous. And then it's not even bad enough that that happens. It's then that he gets this omnipotent piece of mobile suit that flies around like a spinning, glowing shoving itself up everyone's just because they don't think the same way Kira does and his whole team. You know, it's ridiculous. And here's kind of a way I kind of perceive it in a historical context. Think about the Crusades, the Inquisition. In that period, at that time of the world, before it all happened, we had people all over the world, their own tribes, their own customs, their own way of living. It worked. It wasn't perfect, but it was there, and it was doing its own thing, and nobody was in the way of, making it happen. But then all of a sudden, the people who instigated the Crusades and the Inquisition all came down on these other people, and just because they didn't think the same way, just because these people thought they had it all figured out by their little handbooks, they get to go in and just destroy everything that they think doesn't stand for what they think is right. And strike freedom is essentially the same thing. It doesn't actually kill you, but it just makes you sit there and have to live with the fact that you're not going to have things the way you want to just because little Jesus Yamato decides otherwise. It's ridiculous. And I've said that probably 15 times already. So why do people love it so much? Is it really just because it can shoot a lot of beams and has a golden glowing inner frame and a character you once thought was cool in another series, so therefore he has to be important in this other one too? I think that's a load of crap. So how can something this undeserving get a perfect grade, especially when it already has a 1/60th scale version that has lights all over? How? What are you thinking, Bandai? I mean, I know what Bandai's thinking, actually. They're thinking, this is popular, and this will help our sales from the Perfect Grade 00 Riser that didn't sell so well. So they're doing this, which they know is a surefire thing, because there are enough people who will buy it, despite the over $300 price tag that it'll have on it. Why is it so popular? Why do people love it so much? I cannot understand this. I mean, if you're following the same logic process that I am, if I'm even thinking in a similar way that most people are, I can't understand how anyone could like that thing. Sure, it looks kind of cool. Sure, it looks a little like the Freedom, only improved. But so what? What is it a symbol of? It's a symbol of bad writing and cheap storytelling tactics on the half of the directors and all the crap that was going on behind the scenes, supposedly, that led to the whole show being led down a stupid path that had no class or creativity or anything, and that just sucked. The whole ending sucked. It's just these three arrogant mobile suits standing above the whole battlefield looking like they're so pleased with themselves and so arrogant and so mighty. And that's where the credits start rolling. It's ridiculous. And people love it. So, if you do love it, and you're not horribly offended by everything I've just said, why do you like it? Justify the reason why you like that mobile suit, or its pilot, or the plot, or whatever it is specifically that makes you love the Strike Freedom, and love the fact that Bandai's making a perfect grade of it. Defend your position. And let me into your mind. Let me understand what it exactly is that makes you like this thing. But I guess that's about all there is to it. We're almost out of time anyway, so I figure, hey, let me know what you think, either way. So, until the next time, catch you later, everybody. No hard feelings, eh?